Well, hello, hello, hello. Welcome, Bit Queens, to our Sunday session. Please, if you can hear me, kindly go to the comments and let me know. If you can see my screen and you can hear me, please go there in the chats and leave me your feedback. It's good to be back to our Sunday session, and I'm so happy that we're having this amazing session today. Oh, thank you, Carol, for your feedback. Thank you so very much. Thank you so much for being here. Ruka, it's good to have you. Yes, it's so lovely to be back. Yes, so lovely to be back. Welcome, welcome, ladies. And today we're continuing our conversation on tokenization of real-world assets and how that can benefit women. Yes, we're looking at opportunities that are available for women in the tokenization industry. So we have a lot to cover and we wouldn't want to waste any more time because it promises to be very insightful today. It promises to be very informative and you're going to learn a lot today from our conversation. So please let other women in the community know that we've started. So let me know if you can read my screen now. I'm sharing that already. Please, in the course of the presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the chats. I'll be going through the chats and we'll incorporate any questions or concerns that you may have as we proceed. Please let me have your feedback if you can read my screen. Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Carol, for your feedback. So like I said, we are continuing our conversation on tokenization of real-world assets, how it works, and the opportunities that women can leverage in the space. So this is our second conversation or the second part or the second episode of our journey into the tokenization of real world assets. So if you're just joining us for the first time or you're just meeting me, I'm Christy Emmanuel. I'm a blockchain educator for women. I am the founder of BitQueens, and we welcome you to BitQueens. BitQueens is a platform for blockchain education for women and how they can leverage the opportunities within the space to empower themselves. And what we do is to create a community where women feel supported, where they feel confident to begin to explore all the endless opportunities that are within this space. So this is one of those sessions that we hold every Sunday, 5 p.m. West African time, 4 p.m. GMT, where we take an aspect of the blockchain technology, analyze it, break it down, explain it, and show you the opportunities and how you can take advantage. So with that said, let's get right into our conversation. So what are we going to be learning today? We're going to briefly review what we've done in our previous session, and then we're going to look at how blockchain is decentralizing ownership of assets. Of course, we're going to look at how tokenization works, the opportunities that are available for women in the tokenization space, and then we will interact. So please, while we're on this session, if you have any questions, you have any thoughts, please feel free to share them in the comments, right? So with that said, let's get right into it. So imagine that you're sitting in your home and you just take out your phone and within minutes, you've already purchased share ownership or part ownership of a real estate company somewhere in Dubai, part ownership of an aviation company or an aircraft, or you've just bought shares of the famous painting in the world, for instance, the Mona Lisa painting. And you're doing all this just with the use of your smartphone. You don't have to leave your home. You're buying shares of a luxury car company, you're buying shares of a luxury handbag company, all this within the comfort of your home and using your smartphone. Are you still thinking in 2023 that this is not possible? You have to think again because tokenization is changing the way in which women participate in the ownership of real world assets. And today we're going to be demystifying how all this works, the opportunities that are available, and how you can take advantage. So in case you're still wondering what the word tokenization means, think of it as sharing a piece of cake with your friends, right? So it's fractional ownership of a real world asset. Anything that has value, for instance, real estate, like I've said, an aircraft, a luxury handbag, for instance, or the ownership of the company of the luxury handbag or a luxury car, for instance, whether it's a luxury car or a limited edition of a certain type of car, all these are real assets. And having fractions. Fraction means less than one, less than a whole of that company is tokenization. And this is possible because it is enabled by blockchain technology and smart contracts. Okay, I'm going to be explaining that in the course of our presentation. So blockchain technology makes it possible because you are dematerializing that particular asset, that is changing it from its physical form into digital form in a way that is transparent, in a way that is secure, and in a way that anyone anywhere in the world can also participate. And guess what? Now, instead of having certificates like you will get when you buy into shares of companies, let's say a bank or an oil and gas company in the traditional system, you are getting tokens, and these tokens represent the underlying assets. So the value of the tokens are reflected according to the value of the company and the solution that it is providing. And guess what? These tokens can be bought on the marketplaces. It could be sold. You could trade it. You could even mint it through one of the most recent technologies of producing tokens and cryptocurrencies in this space. And so you could also transfer your ownership of these tokens, and all these are possible with tokenization, thereby demystifying, democratizing, decentralizing the way people participate in ownership of real world assets. Isn't that amazing? That is such a fantastic thing. And there's nothing that fascinates me as we speak like tokenization of real world asset, because it opens the door for people, especially women, to begin to participate in the ownership of assets. So what is tokenization? Haven't looked at all the dynamics. Tokenization simply means converting the ownership rights or the value of any real world assets into digital tokens, what you might call digital shares, similar to what you would hold if you were participating in ownership of a traditional company, for instance. And this is done on the blockchain using smart contracts. Smart contracts are just instructions written in form of codes that are self-executing, meaning that you don't need a third party, you don't need a broker, you don't need a lawyer, you don't need third party, as it were, to issue instruction. The instructions just carry themselves out when the conditions are met. So it works on the if-then principle, meaning if this happened, then let this happen. So that's one of the unique things that is happening within the tokenization space, of course, leveraging blockchain technology. So anything that is tangible or intangible, so long it has economic value, is a real world asset. In case you're still asking, is it only physical items? No, real world assets are not just physical items. They could be also intangible items, right? Like licenses, like copyrights, like patents. For instance, if you write a book, it's your intellectual property and you can tokenize it. So all these are the different real world assets that can be tokenized. So how blockchain is decentralizing the ownership of assets. So in case you're still wondering, you're trying to wrap your head around how this actually works. We understand that if I wanted to be buy the shares of a bank, I simply walk into the bank, I have maybe a broker or somebody I speak to, and then I can easily invest. But in the blockchain space, how is it making it easy for people to be part of? Because at the end of the day, it is not always as cheap as one may expect to be part of the ownership of these real world assets. So let's look at how blockchain is changing the narrative, allowing people, women especially, to be part of what's happening. So let's look at this. So this is for instance, a real estate company. Let's maybe call it XYZ real estate company. And you know what happens in the real estate industry? You have institutional investors as the ones playing majorly, because these are people who come with big money. We're talking about banks, we're talking about asset managers, we're talking about funds, maybe trust funds, hedge funds, mutual funds, and the rest. So these are big money coming into, for instance, the real estate companies or real estate industry, as it were. Why is it so? Why is it not the door not open? Is it that others are not allowed to? No, it's not because of that. It's because real estate is capital intensive. Generally, real estate is capital intensive, meaning that you need a lot of money to be able to play in the real estate industry. And it is highly, highly illiquid, meaning that even if you wanted to exit the market as we speak, it's usually not so quick in that sense, because there are a lot of people involved. You have to find a buyer. Let's say you want to sell off your property or something. You have to look for a buyer and have the negotiations. The buyer must be willing to buy at the price you want to sell and has the money readily available. Of course, the intermediaries, the people who make the connections, like the real estate agents and the rest. So all these things are processes that a property owner has to go through to be able to exit the market if he has the need to exit. There's a lot of funds tied into the real estate that cannot just come out immediately. So this is the challenge we have with the traditional real estate industry. Enter tokenization. How is tokenization demystifying what we've just described and the attendant issues that we find within this space? Blockchain is changing the narrative. Now, see what happens. The ownership of these assets or the real estate property itself is digitized. That is, brought onto the blockchain. It is converted from physical asset into digital asset. Now, instead of having real physical property, you have the ownership or the value of this asset represented in what we call tokens. So that is why it is called tokenization. That is changing it from physical form into digital forms represented by what? Tokens. So each of these tokens represent the underlying asset, in this case, real estate. So why is this such a fantastic thing? Because now there is easy entry for everyone. I mean, you can just hold just one token, 2 tokens, 10 tokens that represent part ownership of this particular real estate property or company, as it were. Then it's easy to finance, because even real estate companies are looking for people to participate in their project so that they can build more real estate, provide more value, and of course, profit from the value that they are providing. So when you find more people entering an industry, it's an easy way to finance projects that happen within that industry. And that translates to huge savings for these companies, because instead of going to banks and other financial institutions to take loans to expand their projects, that will mean having other people, retail investors in this case, come in and reduce the interest they would have paid because they took loans from the banks. Now, this is 100% transparent because it's on the blockchain and everyone can see the minutest detail in terms of ownership, in terms of the value of the real estate, in terms of who holds what share or percentage share, or who is trading what, where the tokens are listed in the exchange, who is holding what. All these are open because it's on the blockchain. And of course, it's liquidable in minutes, meaning that you can exit the market as quickly as possible. Just with your mobile phone connected to the internet, you can go to the marketplace and sell off the tokens that you hold that represents your participation. Just with few clicks of a button, you can swap those tokens for real fiat currencies or even for other digital assets within the space. So you can see how blockchain is demystifying how we hold and participate real world assets. Now, in case you're still wondering, how is this still possible? Remember, I mentioned smart contracts. So smart contract makes this possible because, again, we have to be sure that nobody is being sidelined, nobody is manipulating anything. So these smart contracts are written in form of codes. Codes do not obey anyone. Once these codes are activated, they work. You cannot even call them back. Yes, you can't call these smart contracts back until they execute, until the obligations are met. So it gives opportunity for high transparency, reliability of the entire system and process. And so people can be rest assured that nobody is sidelining them or nobody is manipulating the information or data that you have within this space. And this eliminates all sorts of middlemen. Now, in the case of real estate, you'll understand that middlemen participation also hikes the price of real estate. So when you eliminate any form of intermediary, it sort of reduces the hike in price of real estate, thereby pushing back all that value that would have gone to middlemen back into the system, which can now benefit both the asset owners and the investors. And guess what? This opens up a whole new level of opportunities, not just for institutional investors, it also gives opportunity for individual investors, retail investors, women to participate. And so you can be sure of participation you have because it's now held within your private wallet. You have your personal wallet where you hold these tokens and you can trade them, you can sell, you can transfer their ownership, you can exit the market, or you can swap them for other digital assets right within the blockchain ecosystem. So this is such a fantastic disruption, if you ask me, that blockchain technology is bringing into real world assets, that is changing the way that people own and participate in ownership of real world assets. Okay, so let's go ahead. If you're having a great time, please go to the comments and share with me. So if you have any questions, if you're having fun, any thoughts crossing your mind, please feel free to share with others in the comments. So how tokenization works is the next thing we're going to look at. How an asset is converted from its physical form to its digital form. So first you will need an asset, and that asset has to be considered valuable. So that asset could be tangible or intangible. Remember, we talked about real estate, patents, carbon credits, all these are different assets. So we need to have that asset, and that asset has to be valued. We need to know what value of what that asset represents, right? All the paperwork that is associated with that. Then the next thing will be to have a blockchain, because you're going to be transferring the ownership of that asset to a blockchain, and you need to have the right blockchain, not just any kind of blockchain, because not all blockchains are designed for tokenization. We know the features of blockchain, talking about decentralization, which now gives opportunities for more people to own that piece of asset. Of course, transparency, security of people's funds and assets, and all these are very important for asset custodians to put into consideration before choosing any blockchain. So the blockchain could be public, private, or hybrid. The type of blockchain to use will be determined by the asset you're trying to tokenize. We should also pay attention to scalability, that is, was the capacity for that blockchain to expand with time and handle the load that will be coming on it as a result of the tokenization activities that are happening. So that's where scalability comes to play. Speed of the transaction is very important. For instance, Ethereum is one blockchain that can do tokenization, but the challenge is that it has limited speed when it comes to transaction throughput. That is, the number of transactions it can process per second is still at about 27 to 30 transactions per second. So even though it has a capacity to do tokenization, the speed may not be favorable. You see, all that consideration is what we need to look at before choosing a blockchain that is ideal for tokenization. Again, cost. What's the gas fee? What's the rate? What are the charges people need to pay for interacting? You don't want a blockchain that is so expensive to use. You want to have a blockchain that is cost effective, both for the users who are the investors and of course the asset owners who are bringing their assets onto the blockchain. Then the next thing to do will be dematerialization. Dematerialization is now the process where that physical asset is converted into digital tokens. Now, the next thing to do will be fractionalization of the tokens. That is, breaking them down into smaller tradable units. This is where the investors now can participate because they can hold the tokens that represent these assets that is already dematerialized on the blockchain. And so they can go to the marketplace, they can buy these assets, they can sell them, they can trade them, they can even transfer it, they can mint it, as it were. So this is fractionalization process. So remember, we're going through a process. We need to have the asset, we have to have the right blockchain. Then the next process will be to dematerialize it, convert it to digital asset, then break it down into smaller units that allow women to now participate. And then we also have to have the legal part taken care of. Speaking of KYC, anti-money laundering, data protection, consumer protection, the necessary regulations and laws for the jurisdiction in which this asset is being tokenized, and of course, the laws that are guiding that particular asset. For instance, the laws for real estate is different from the laws for aviation. And so you have to consider the laws for that specific industry and also laws that are guiding the jurisdiction in which that particular asset is situated. So all these are things to consider, before the process of tokenizing a real world asset is complete. So this is how tokenization works. And a lot of experts who play a role in making sure that these processes are followed to the point where you and I, as the investors, can now go to the marketplace or buy into the ownership of these real-world assets. But we're not going to highlight all those professionals and experts. Maybe in our subsequent sessions, we're going to look at experts that are involved in the processes of tokenizing the real-world asset. Tokenization benefits parties involved, not just you as an investor, even the asset owners benefit, because now they have access to a larger investor base, not just institutional investors or venture capitalists. The door is now open and more people can participate in their projects. And of course, increased liquidity, because the more people you have participating, that means more money coming into that industry and more value can be provided, which benefits not just the asset owners, but also those who are participating. Then that translates to huge savings for companies, because think of it, going to the bank, taking loan, the interest rates are usually very high. If the cost of doing that business or tokenizing that asset is high, it's also going to reflect in the finished product, what investors are going to be buying into, meaning that it makes it more attractive for people to participate. Now, let's look at the side of the investors. It offers us the opportunity to diversify our portfolio. So we are no longer just investing in traditional assets. We could also take advantage of digital assets within the blockchain space. Then global asset to assets, it's not just investments within your own jurisdiction. For instance, maybe you are in the UK or in Nigeria, Ghana or any other place, or China. You could take advantage of assets across the globe because tokenization makes that possible. Then there's transparency, like we've already explained. There's security of the asset, because then you want to be sure that that asset is secured, and blockchain makes this possible. It also provides opportunity for investors, in this case women, to have additional income source. And guess what? The lower entry threshold is such a fantastic aspect of tokenization, because take, for instance, the real estate we've just analyzed. You can imagine how much it will cost for you to play in the real estate industry or to invest in real estate. But do you know what? Even with as low as $50, for instance, you could buy tokens that represent ownership of an asset. So it's such a fantastic way to incorporate women into the tokenization industry, and of course, earn for their participation. So let's look at the opportunities that are available for women. How can women participate? What are the areas women can take advantage of in the tokenization industry? But first, let's analyze the huge opportunity within the tokenization space. Tokenization is possibly the largest industry in the next few decades. So you have to pay attention. The market is so huge. Imagine real-world assets, all real-world assets coming onto the blockchain. That's a lot of value. And according to World Economic Forum, it says that the market is expected to account for 10% of the global GDP by 2030, meaning that whatever the GDP would be by 2030, about 10% of that would have been onboarded on the blockchain, meaning those assets would have been tokenized. And that's a huge value, ladies. So you want to begin to look at this industry from another perspective and ask yourself, how do I participate? Because we're talking about real world assets, assets that have been established. We're not talking about things that are yet to be. We're talking about already established assets coming onto the blockchain. And of course, development will keep happening. Economies will keep expanding, which means beyond 2030, the opportunities are even enormous, more than we can begin to comprehend at this point in time. So I want us to begin to pay attention to tokenization. Of course, World Economic Forum, in a detailed report, says that presently about $800 trillion in value in traditional markets, in real world assets, and that by 2027, about 24 trillion of that would have been unwrapped, meaning that the opportunities would have been there. About $24 trillion in value would have been unfolded in the tokenization industry. So that alone tells you, and we're talking about 2027 is just maybe 3 years from now. So there's so much value in this space, and women cannot sleep at this time in taking advantage of all the opportunity as they present themselves. Another analysis and report from Boston Consulting says that about $16 trillion worth of business opportunity will be available by 2030, especially through tokenization of illiquid assets, global illiquid assets. Example, real estate, natural resources. These are illiquid assets. So much value in that area, but those values are tied that it can't be easily transferred or exited. So all this value is coming into the tokenization space, and that provides us opportunity. As you can see in this chart, you may want to screenshot this and study it much later. So there's a lot of value coming into the space, and women cannot be on the sidelines at this point. We need to be at the forefront and begin to see opportunities and how we can take advantage. So let's look at those opportunities very quickly. In the aviation industry, see, movement is a human need. People are moving every single day. People love to travel, to go on vacation. People are moving. And so the aviation industry holds huge value. It's an industry that women can understand how it works and tap into the value that is being created in that space every single minute. And this is now made possible through tokenization. Because yes, you can tokenize an aviation company. You can tokenize an aircraft, even a drone. You can tokenize an airport. So it's an opportunity, huge opportunity for women to take advantage. What are the opportunities? You can co-own an aviation company. Yes, so it means that you now have digital shares of that particular aviation company. And of course, as that business expands, it reflects in the tokens that you hold. Over time, you can sell it and get rewards on your participation. You can even transfer the ownership of your participation in ownership of these aviation companies, even onto your children, because it's digital, it's tokens, and you just transfer to them and they hold in their own personal wallet. You could also co-own aircraft. Not only can aviation companies be tokenized, even aircrafts can be tokenized, ownership of these aircrafts. So when tokenization happens, it means more money is flowing into that particular asset, and it's now used to expand the business. Maybe the company buys more aircraft, they fly to more locations, which opens up more business, and then brings in more income, as it were, or revenue for that particular aviation company. And then it's reflected on the value of the entire company, and of course in the tokens that you hold, which at this point in time would have been listed on an exchange or in the marketplace. And so you can see the price movement, you can see that, and people can trade it if they choose. They can hold onto it if they choose. Now, you could also be part owner of an airport, an entire airport, women. That's a lot of value. Do you know how much value airports are providing every single day? Even private jets get to keep their aircrafts in the airport. So there's a lot of revenue being generated. And what about the loyalty programs? When you are a repeat customer, like you're always using their flight, let's say Emirates, they give you some kind of rebate or kind of discount, measure it in miles, how much miles you've, traveled over the years. And so you can use the points you have gotten or the rewards or the discounts you've gotten in your next flight or any other related products that the company offers. But with blockchain, the rewards, instead of being given to you in fiat currencies or points, they could actually be given to you as tokens, digital tokens that even may represent part ownership of that aviation company. And the opportunity also exists that you can convert those tokens to other stuff. You can use them to buy a cup of coffee. You don't have to fly with it. You can use that to buy a dress. You can use that to exchange for other digital assets. So you can see that the opportunity in the aviation industry is so huge and is something we should not sleep on. Of course, there's also referral programs where if you refer other customers to use their services, the company can reward you in form of digital tokens that have value that you can now exchange for real fiat currencies or other forms of assets or digital assets, as it were. So women, the opportunities are huge. Time will not allow me to demystify all, but just so you know, there is opportunity to take advantage of what's happening. So this is not the time you just go and fly without asking yourself, what's the value in this industry and how can I participate, right? But did you know that the revenue of commercial airlines worldwide only in 2023, that's last year, was about $800 billion. So you can see that there is a huge value because businesses are opening up. Remember, during the COVID, people could not move, people could not travel, but businesses are opening up. And with tokenization, it means more people can now play in providing liquidity that can bring about expansion of that particular assets. As I speak, there are over 25,900 aircrafts moving across the globe. So the opportunity to expand that industry is there. Tourism is growing. People want to travel more. People want to spend some time with family. People want to be happy. People want to visit places. And so you can see the huge value in this industry and how women can position themselves to begin to take advantage. Now let's move to carbon credits. Now, in case you're just hearing about carbon credits for the first time, it is more like certificates that companies need to acquire to make up for the excess CO2 their activities are pushing into the environment. So we all have carbon footprints, right? The car you drive, the generator you have in your home, maybe to power your house, electricity and all that. So aviation industries, the aircraft, they're producing CO2, construction companies, electricity companies, cement making companies, and all that type of stuff. So these activities of man is pushing CO2 in the environment and causing global warming, which is not so good for the environment, emission of gases and all that. So what is the solution? The solution is to plant more trees. In fact, felling of trees is also one of the things that are leading to global warming because it's causing an imbalance in the way the earth regulates itself, right? And when you fell trees, what happened? The animals that are also part of the ecosystem that help to maintain the entire process go on extinction. Some of them die because you are driving them away from their natural habitat, as it were. So one of the ways to curtail that, to solve that problem, is to remove CO2, you replace them with equal amount of oxygen. So there's a huge market here, and it's so huge that it's still very much untapped. How can women now begin to participate in the process that replace oxygen into the environment? It is through planting of trees. So women can be carbon farmers, right? You can look at sustainable farming techniques that will earn you carbon credits. So you need a way to measure the carbon credits that you are generating because these huge companies are looking for it. There is not enough carbon credits. Remember, like I said, carbon credits represent certificates, kind of, that companies are looking for to show their commitment to reducing their carbon footprint. And so they're looking for companies that can sell these carbon credits to them and women can participate in the process. So that's one opportunity. Women get incentivized for going into carbon farming. They could also participate in the ownership of a carbon credit generating company, maybe a service provider or a carbon program. And in that way, they're also able to co-own the company because now this company will go into the rural areas, go to different places to encourage farmers to grow more trees, to plant eco-friendly trees, thereby increasing the production of oxygen into the atmosphere, which is now measured and translated into carbon credits that these companies can now purchase. So that offers opportunity for you to buy into the ownership of such companies and, of course, earn for your participation. Then we're talking about buying and selling of carbon credits. Today, there is a market for trading carbon credits and investing in it. Like I said, this industry is still very much untapped. But today, through tokenization and blockchain, we're exploring different assets and how we can participate in them. So did you know that carbon credit market is a $25 billion opportunity, and that it is estimated in the future to grow to up to 100 billion by 2030? Okay, so you see the market is huge, and there's no better time, like I said, for women to begin to understand these opportunities and begin to position. As I speak, there are companies, real companies, that are already providing you the opportunity to participate in tokenization of natural resources and carbon markets and all that. So in our subsequent sessions, we're going to be looking at those companies, understanding their models, and recommending the ones that you can take advantage of. Now, let's talk about real estate before we go. Women, there are a lot of opportunities, but I just wanted us to talk about just 3 for today. Then in our subsequent session, we're going to be exploring different industries and different opportunities. So I don't want to waste much time with real estate because we've discussed a lot in the beginning about real estate. But just so you know, real estate can be tokenized. And once that happens, you can participate in tokenized properties, maybe apartments. A hotel can be tokenized. You can co-own that hotel. And of course, you know how much value that hotels bring across the globe for the owners. And you too can participate in the ownership and benefit for your participation. Parks and all that, these are ways in which women can participate. You can also co-own the real estate companies and the value that they bring. Of course, you know, these real estate companies go out building more and more real estate. So they are looking for investors, putting money so that they can expand their projects. We know that real estate is a human demand. People need real estate for their business, for their office, for whatever they're doing. And so the value here is very huge, ladies. And people can buy and sell the asset tokens, or the tokens that represent these assets when they are tokenized on the blockchain. So a lot of opportunities are available here. There's also referral programs. When women refer investors to real estate companies, they also get rewarded for that. So these are opportunities that women can take advantage. Did you know that the global real estate market is estimated to be over $326 trillion? That's huge value. Imagine that just 10% of these comes onto the blockchain. That's huge. And it's an opportunity for you to now finally play in real estate, because it's one asset that people always like to invest in because of the fact that over time, the value appreciates. So congratulations, ladies. This is where we draw the curtains. Like I said, we keep exploring different industries. We've not even talked about entertainment. We've not talked about the drone industry. We've not even talked about copyrights, like those who write books, and we've not talked about music. We've not talked about arts. All these are different industries with different opportunities that women can leverage. So it was my pleasure on behalf of the Bitcoins team to bring this to you. We reviewed our last session. We looked at how blockchain is centralizing ownership of assets. We also looked at how tokenization works. And finally, the opportunities that are available. We looked at the carbon credit markets. We looked at aviation industry. We also looked at the real estate industry. So congratulations for making it till the end. And if you're watching us and you're not yet part of our community, all that value and all that opportunity to learn, to explore, then you want to reach out to us immediately. You can write us a mail at bitcoinshq@gmail.com requesting to join our community. Or if you're watching this on any of our social media platforms, just leave a comment. We'll get back to you. And if you're here listening and you know other women who should benefit from what's happening here, then feel free to also invite them to join our community. And we are also expanding our community, expanding our team. So if you know women or you have skills in community management, content creation, video editing, graphics designs, or you are a social media strategist, then you are invited to join our team. Please leave us a mail indicating your interest. Our email is bitcoinshq@gmail.com, and we'll be there to give you more information on how to be part of the Bitcoins team. Follow us on all our social media handles if you've not already done so. Comment, share, like, Leave your thoughts, and we'll be there to respond to whatever concerns or questions or inquiries that you may have. Thank you for listening. My name is Christy, and it's time now to get your feedback on all we've had today. Time now to get to the comments. I stopped sharing my screen. I hope you're having an amazing time. Thank you, Carol, for all your feedback. She says, great slides. Thank you for taking time to put this information in an easy to understand way. Oh, thank you so much. We are happy that you find this very easy to understand and you're having a great time. Carol says, thank you, Christy. I was aware of art and real estate, but not aviation and aircraft or carbon credits. Very informative. Wow, that's amazing. Yes, we learn every day. There's so much that can be tokenized. So much that can be tokenized. Thank you, Coach K. That's from Ruka. Thank you, Christy. That's from Soma. Thank you so much for your feedback. And we're happy that you got value for your time today. Okay, without any more questions, does anyone have any questions, or do you want to share an experience, or you want to make a suggestion? Thank you, Carol, for your reaction. Carol, you can unmute yourself.
Meant to have hit the unmute button, not the camera button. Yes, with real estate. I think it was 2021. I got some real estate tokenized in hotel in Dubai. Just a mere 175 square inches. Hey, but I'm getting paid dividends on that.
Amazing, amazing.
And it's good to see you back to full health.
Yeah, thank you so very much. I feel much better now, and I'm happy to be back. Thank you.
Yes. All right, I'm going off camera again.
That's fine. Thank you for contributing. Yes. Okay, thank you. So thank you, ladies, for coming on here. It's such an exciting moment to be here all, every Sunday to share, to understand, to see opportunities, and to position ourselves to leverage. In our subsequent sessions, we're going to look at more opportunities, more industries, and look at real companies that are already providing us with the opportunity to take advantage. So next Sunday is a time you don't want to miss. Invite your friends, other women who may be seeking opportunities to invest in real world assets, leveraging blockchain technology. So it was my pleasure on behalf of the Bitcoins team to bring this until we come your way again. Thank you. See you next Sunday, 5 p.m. West African time. And let's keep the conversation going in the community. In case you have any questions or you want to share your thoughts or anything that comes to your mind, please feel free to share them in the community. We'll keep the conversation going there. Thank you, everyone that participated. See you next Sunday, and bye for now.